All right, so today let's dive into something that
Yeah.
I think is pretty fascinating. Um, we all know those kids, right? The ones who are practically born with a smartphone glued to their hands.
Yeah.
Well, their kids are about to like take over the world. We're talking about Gen Beta.
Right.
That's the generation that's going to rewrite all the rules.
Yeah, for sure.
We've got this awesome report from McCrindle. They're a leading social research firm,
Yeah.
and this report's going to help guide our deep dive into their world.
I'm excited.
What's really fascinating to me is that we're not just talking about like a new generation here. We're talking about a whole new like era.
Definitely Gen Beta, born, from 2025 onwards.
Yeah.
They're going to experience a world so different from
Yeah.
anything we've ever seen.
It's true. And we're not just talking about like, flying cars and stuff. This report really digs into like what
Yeah.
makes Gen Beta tick.
Yes.
And like why understanding them is like getting a sneak peek into the future. What really hit me hard was that by 2035, Gen Beta will make up a full 16% of the global population.
Wow.
That's huge.
That is massive. If you think
Yeah.
about that, like connect that to the bigger picture, that's a huge chunk of future influencers and decision makers.
Yeah.
And here's something crazy to think about. Many of them are going to live to see the 22nd century.
Wow.
That's mind-boggling.
It is.
And it really just underscores the massive scale of change they're going to be witnessing in their lifetime.
It's almost like science fiction is becoming reality. This report paints a really vivid picture
Sure.
of a world where AI tutors are just normal.
Yeah.
Kids grow up with like personalized shopping experiences curated by algorithms, and their health is constantly being monitored by wearable tech.
It's really a pretty radical shift.
Mm.
And I think the key here is that Gen Beta won't just be using technology. They'll
Yeah.
be co-evolving with it.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where AI is not just some tool,
Yeah.
but it's like completely woven into their lives from the very beginning.
That makes me think about their parents, Gen Z. Yeah.
They grew up with the internet and social media.
Totally.
I'm so curious about how their experience is going to impact how they raise their own kids.
I think that's a great point. Gen Z, they've seen both the amazing potential of technology
Right.
and also its downsides.
Yeah, the pitfalls.
Yeah. And I think they're going to be much more careful about things like screen time and digital privacy, especially when it comes to their own kids.
So maybe instead of all that oversharing we saw with millennials,
Right.
we might see like a generation of kids with really carefully crafted digital footprints,
Mhm.
like shaped by their parents who are much more aware
Right.
of the online world.
Exactly. But it's not just about the tech. It's about the whole world that Gen Beta is going to inherit.
Mhm.
They're coming of age at a time with climate change, rapid urbanization,
Yeah,
and this like crazy global interconnectedness.
those are some major challenges.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, how will they even view traditional concepts like
Right.
borders and national identity
Yeah.
when their world is so digitally connected? I think that's a really fascinating question. And it points to a potential shift in values.
Okay.
Gen Beta, raised by millennials and Gen Z,
Mm-hmm.
they're probably going to prioritize sustainability,
Mm-hmm.
equality, global citizenship.
Yeah.
They'll be problem solvers by necessity.
Yeah.
And their digital fluency might give them unique tools to address those challenges.
I like that. That's hopeful.
Yeah.
Especially considering how big those problems are.
Yeah.
But I am curious, in a world where digital interaction is just like the default,
Right.
how are they going to develop like a strong sense of their own individual identity?
That is really important.
Yeah.
I think for Gen Beta, it won't just be about being connected.
Right.
It will be about figuring out who they are
Mm-hmm.
within this hyper-connected world.
Yeah.
They'll have to navigate this really complex landscape
Yeah.
where local communities blend seamlessly with these global digital networks,
Right.
all while trying to figure out their own unique path.
It's like they're going to be rewriting the definition of community. Speaking of rewriting, I think it's interesting how we're using letters now to label generations
Yeah.
instead of names like, millennials or Gen X.
It is interesting.
I wonder why that is.
It's actually a deliberate change.
Oh,
Using letters just makes things more scientific,
okay.
more objective when we're analyzing generational trends.
Gotcha.
Each generation gets like a standard 15-year span,
Okay.
which makes it much easier to compare data across different countries and different time periods.
So it's not just about capturing a moment in time. It's about creating like a framework for
Exactly.
understanding how generations evolve and shape the world around them.
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to decode the patterns of history
Mm.
in a more scientific way.
And I think that brings us to a really crucial point.
Okay.
Gen Beta, they're going to be shaped by their very specific circumstances, of course,
Right.
but they'll still share a lot of those really fundamental human needs and desires with all the generations that came before them.
For sure. We're
Yeah.
all wired for connection
Right.
and purpose and a sense of belonging.
Exactly. No matter when we were born.
Yeah.
So the big question that we need to think about is, how are they going to fulfill those needs in a world that is so drastically different? It's like we're handing them this really incredible toolkit of technology and global connectivity.
Yeah.
But then it's up to them to figure out how to use it to build fulfilling and meaningful lives.
Totally. Their success is really going to depend on their ability to balance the digital and the human, the global and the local.
That's a great point.
So let's actually shift gears a bit and think about what all of this means for businesses and organizations.
Yeah, let's unpack that.
All right.
What kind of consumer will Gen Beta be?
Right.
How will they approach work and education in this world that's been so transformed by technology and global interconnectedness?
Yes.
Okay, let's dive into that. Well, get ready, because Gen Beta is going to be a whole different kind of consumer.
Oh, yeah.
They've grown up with like on-demand everything.
Right.
Personalized experiences, curated by AI.
Yeah.
And a constant stream of information at their fingertips.
So businesses that are still clinging to these like outdated models, slow service, generic marketing.
Totally.
They're going to be in for a shock.
Yeah, it's like trying to sell a rotary phone to someone who's only ever known a smartphone.
Yeah, good analogy.
Gen Beta won't just expect these like smooth digital interactions, they'll demand them.
Right.
But it's even more than just the tech.
What do you mean?
Gen Beta is going to be super picky when it comes to brand values.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, they're inheriting a world that's like on the edge of a climate crisis.
Yeah, that's true.
And their parents are all about social responsibility and ethical consumption.
So it's not enough for companies to just like slap a green label on their products anymore.
No way Gen Beta will see right through that.
Yeah, they'll be looking for companies that actually like walk the walk when it comes to sustainability, fair labor practices. Inclusivity.
Yeah, they'll want to know like what's happening in the whole supply chain.
Right. Total transparency.
And they'll hold brands accountable for their impact on the world.
It makes sense. I mean, they grew up being able to fact check everything and connect with like-minded people instantly.
It's true. They've got the tools.
So yeah, they're not going to fall for any like empty promises.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And don't forget about online reviews and social media.
That's huge.
Gen Beta has grown up in a world where your online reputation is everything.
It is.
And they will call out companies that aren't living up to their stated values.
Yeah, they will.
Yeah.
Speaking of preparing Gen Beta for the future, let's talk about how the workplace is evolving.
Okay.
Can you imagine these kids thriving in those old school corporate structures?
No way. Gen Beta, they've seen the rise of the gig economy.
Yeah.
Remote work. They really value flexibility, collaboration, and a good work-life balance.
So say goodbye to stuffy offices and the 9-to-5 grind.
Exactly. Gen Beta is going to be drawn to companies that offer remote work options.
Okay.
Flexible hours, project-based teams.
Makes sense.
They'll want work that feels meaningful and gives them a chance to make a real difference.
So companies that can offer a strong sense of purpose and mission, they're going to have a big edge.
Definitely. Okay, now let's talk about education.
Okay.
This is where things get really interesting.
All right, I'm ready.
Traditional classrooms, those lecture-based ones, those are about as appealing to Gen Beta as dial-up internet.
So no more rows of desks and memorizing facts from textbooks.
They're going to want interactive, personalized learning that's tailored to their own needs and interests.
I like that.
Imagine classrooms using virtual reality. Where students can explore ancient Rome or dissect a human heart.
That's amazing.
All without leaving their desks.
Yeah, learning is going to be so much more engaging for them.
Right. And it's not even just about the technology itself.
Okay.
They'll need to develop critical thinking skills, problem-solving abilities, and a real love of learning so they can thrive in a world that's always changing.
It's not just about taking in information anymore.
Right.
It's about learning how to adapt.
Exactly.
And how to use that knowledge in the real world.
Yeah. But we can't forget about the human side of things.
Right.
In a world that's so digital, nurturing their emotional intelligence, empathy, and their ability to build relationships, that's going to be crucial.
We've talked a lot about the technical skills.
Yeah.
But yeah, their success will depend on their ability to connect with other people too.
For sure. It's all about finding that balance between being tech savvy and staying connected to other humans.
Yeah. So as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I'm thinking about how we're focusing so much on the future, but Gen Beta is already here.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a perfect lead into the last part of our discussion.
Okay.
The oldest members of Gen Beta are already out there,
Yeah.
living their lives and starting to make their mark on the world.
So it's not just about predicting the future.
Right.
It's about understanding what's happening right now and recognizing that Gen Beta is already shaping the world around us.
Yeah, it really is amazing to think about the oldest Gen Betas. They're already here, experiencing the world, starting to make their mark.
And as they grow up, their influence is only going to get stronger.
Right.
We're not just talking about these like abstract future trends anymore.
Yeah.
We're talking about real people who are actively shaping things.
So maybe instead of trying to predict exactly what Gen Beta will be like, we should be asking ourselves how we can support them and empower them right now.
That's a really good point. It's about recognizing that they have agency, listening to their ideas, and creating spaces where they can be heard because their future is our future.
Right. We're all in this together.
We're navigating this crazy, changing world.
Exactly. And that brings me to something I've been thinking about.
Okay.
We always talk about Gen Beta as this tech-obsessed generation.
Right.
But what if technology isn't actually the most important thing shaping their lives?
That's an interesting thought. What else could it be?
Well, think about all the huge changes happening in society right now.
Okay.
Climate change,
Yeah.
globalization, the rise of automation.
Right.
These things are completely reshaping our world.
Yeah.
And it's not just about technology.
So it's about the fundamental ways in which the world is changing.
That's it. How Gen Beta adapts to these changes. How they deal with a world that's in constant flux.
Yeah.
That's what will really define them.
Yeah.
Technology is just a tool.
Right.
But their resilience, creativity, adaptability, those are their superpowers.
I like that. It's a good reminder that we can't predict the future perfectly. We can try to give them the skills we think they'll need,
Right.
but ultimately their journey is going to be shaped by things we can't control.
And that's exactly why it's so important to encourage them to think critically, to solve problems, and to always stay curious.
Those qualities will help them face the unknown.
For sure. And maybe that's the best thing we can teach them.
Yeah.
The ability to adapt, to learn, and to find meaning in a world that's always changing.
This deep dive has been amazing.
I agree.
We've learned so much, not just about Gen Beta, but about how generations connect with each other and the power we all have to shape the future.
We've also seen how important it is to listen to different viewpoints.
Absolutely.
To have conversations between generations and to remember that we're all part of the same human story.
Gen Beta, with all their tech skills, their global perspective, and their commitment to sustainability,
that's empowering.
They have the potential to write a really incredible chapter in that story.
They do. So to everyone listening, as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Gen Beta, we'll leave you with this.
Okay.
The future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we create together.
We do.
And by understanding this new generation, by listening to what they have to say, and by working together across generations, we can build a future that lives up to their potential and our own.
That's a great note to end on.
I think so.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.